Welcome back to the Ring Record Podcast. We're coming to you from the Rio Hotel and Casino right here from the stage for Matt Merritt's watch party. And this is one of the coolest watch parties we've been to in a long time. They've expanded it this year. There's a lot more activation stuff. They have a dance floor. They have rope and dummies. They have a bull you can sit on and take pictures. They've got really good service here. You can sit at your table during the watch party, order food. It's a ton of fun, and we really appreciate them letting us set up. But our guest today is Nick Lica of Lica Bell. And we kind of visited with Nick a little bit while we were at the convention earlier and looked at the product. And we have a background with Nick before now.
Yeah, definitely do. We were performers there at the Dixie Stampede in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
That's it.
Yes, we were performers for Old Dolly, and that was a fun period in our life.
We suffered the spandex together.
Yes, the fringe. My favorite story, real quick, is Travis had me put on. It was still regular season before we went into like the two-piece. And he said, go to the gift shop. And I was like, okay. And all these, I'm in this outfit that I don't want to be wearing. And it's a one-piece thing for everyone listening. And you just see everything. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, and it's double-lined spandex and it's fitted.
Yeah. and I'm a bull. Like, I'm like, this is not. Okay, so anyways, every person is walking down looking at me, and I have to point them into this gift shop. And after however many 2,500 people passed me, I went right into Travis's office, and I said, never again. I will never do gift shops again. And I never did. So.
Oh, my gosh. You got
face-to-face.
Lucky on that one because most of the time it was us girls. If we weren't in finale, it was like gift shop, especially on a long show day. Man, that was like the short end of the stick.
It's because you guys are just so much prettier than us, and everybody wants to see you all. Nobody cares about us.
The worst.
And the outfits were a lot more like they looked better on you guys.
Well, I would agree with that.
On the men, it did not look as well. So.
Oh, my gosh. So you liked the snowflakes and fringe better?
I did. And I'll never forget they got mad because I reshaped my hat. They give you, a hat.
Yeah, they do.
And I took it home and I reshaped it. And it took them a little while, but they got it and they said, did you do something to your hat? And I was like, no. And they're like, I don't think it's supposed to look like that. So, don't sweat the small details. We're good.
It's too punchy for them. They want straight taco.
Those things out of the box looked really rough. I mean,
you got to put a little bit of your personality into it,
exactly.
right?
1,000%.
So, Nick, let's get some people at home to get to know you a little bit, too. We know you pretty good from the past, but what's your background in rodeo? Where are you from?
Yeah, so I was actually born in California, and I was raised in Michigan. And basically, in Michigan. My parents lived in Detroit, so Detroit metro area. And I got lucky when I lived in California, Oakdale, California. They claim to be the cowboy capital of the world, even though we know Stephenville, Texas is. Went to school there. But anyways, I got blessed, got an opportunity, got around bull riding and whatnot, and took this path that I had no clue that I was. In Detroit, you're supposed to be working on the assembly line. Like that's just how it kind of goes. And was in high school rodeo and worked my way up through college rodeo and then on to the professional level and just took this complete path. I did not know what God had planned for me. It was just be involved in rodeo. And, rodeo is so fun because like everyone's like little outcasters, and then they like just come into our family and join us and be a part of it, and everyone's just so great to be around. And so basically I rodeoed. I did PRCA, did PBR. I actually got on tour for a little while in the PBR back a long time ago, and pro rodeoed for quite a while. Did amateur bull rides when I was first starting out, and then during that time. When I graduated from college, I met my wife after I met you guys at the Dixie Stampede, and I needed a job. And so I was always trying to find a job that allowed me to work in rodeo because it's really hard to be a rodeo athlete and have a job. And there wasn't, nowadays I feel like with this remote stuff and digital marketing and all these things, like you probably could find a little bit more jobs, but it was hard. And I was talking to a guy, and he was like, what are you doing with your life? And I had an ACL surgery, and so I wasn't working. I wasn't riding bulls, and I was like, man, I'm looking for a job. He's like, well, shoot. He goes, my dad owns this rodeo gear company. It's called Beastmaster Rodeo. I was like, what? And I was like, it's in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, is it that place with like the little shed and it was like kind of sketchy and I didn't know what I was doing? He's like, yeah, it's at his house right now, but they're going to move it.
Oh, my
gosh.
Like,
okay. And so in a nutshell, they had he started that thing. So he bought the company from the guy his name was Dennis Schmidt from Colorado, and he brought it to his house and was running out of his garage, which the gentleman who owned the company, he had other jobs and businesses, but it was like his passion was in rodeo, his family rodeoed. So like, he was like, I'm going to start this, and what he thought when he bought the company, he was like, I need to take it to the internet.
Right.
Like that was his first thought process,
Yeah.
like rodeo gear, because for so long rodeo gear was in tack stores, Western stores,
1,000%.
things like
and
that.
we understand that, especially coming from the Southeast. Like, even our tack shops, there's so few and far between. Like, most everything we order, we're ordering from Teskey's, we're ordering from NRS. We have to come to Cowboy Christmas to buy it and see it and feel it. Otherwise, we just don't have access to it.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and so he was like, get it, got to put it on the internet. Puts it on the internet. Well, then basically his manager at that time was a cousin of his, and he had took another job, and they were looking for someone. And my buddy Ryan Miller, who I went to college with at Fort Scott, was like, hey, Nick would be a good fit for this. And so me and the owner hit it off like good friends right out of the gate. And I'll never forget, like, I show up at Christmas, and it's like in a pile on the ground in this huge warehouse. And it's like in a pile, like it's not very big. And I'm like, okay. And I don't know what I'm doing. I got no experience in any of this other than I understood in rodeo, I understood in bull riding, and that was where my background was, and so, man, it was such a blessing. I mean, that company, we grew it. I mean, I was the only employee when it started. By the time I left, there was 10 employees,
That's awesome.
Our team members, and we generated. I mean, it went from it's doing well. I'll just say that it went from not doing anything to making some decent money and having definitely a name in the industry for the rodeo. And the biggest blessing behind that was that I could go rodeo.
Right.
So like that was the handshake that him and I made. Like it was, you can go rodeo as much as you want, and you have a job. And so to me, it was like, all right, the sky's the limit. Let's make this deal happen. And so it was a good transition. So
How long were you there?
10 years.
10 years.
Yep.
Wow. I didn't
nuts.
realize it was that long.
Well, it's basically straight out of Dixie, right?
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah, 10. I mean, yeah, it's insane. Like I never worked a job longer than 6. I mean, I was always a laborer doing like construction or building fence or something or training horses. But yeah, the fact that I put blood, sweat, and tears in that place and bled that brand for 10 years. It was a wild ride.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Then you mentioned your wife, Lindy. So where did you meet at Dixie?
Yeah, we met at Dixie. I kind of knew she existed before I showed up.
I was aware I'd seen her around.
Yeah, my friend had showed me, this sounds really bad, but my friend had showed me, I was like, there's a lot of beautiful women at Dixie. It was like, he's like, this girl named Lindy. And I was like, oh, she's cool. And so I get there, and she did not want nothing to do with me. Let me tell you, nothing. So
Relatable.
And then, touche. Yeah. So then I tried to go about it like the cool way, like being the cool bull rider. She don't like bull riders, let me tell you. And so then I had to go the real way, which is genuine Nick, and then that touched her heart a little. So, but my wife's a badass,
Yes,
and
she is.
She's a specialty act in the PRCA, trick rider, Roman rider. She's got she works for Syngenta. It's a seed company. She's like a scientist. She does like drone things and new seeds.
Super smart.
Yeah, she's so smart, and she's such a hard worker. And we just had our first kid, and the kid, she's a great mom, and my wife's awesome. She's a rock star. She's the one keeping us afloat right now, so thanks to her.
Shout out to Lindy.
Yeah, shout out to Lindy.
She's from a Western background too, right? Her dad builds trick saddles, doesn't he?
Yeah, Tom Neely Saddles. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of trick saddle makers in the world, and Tom's one of them. And I hope to, even myself, like I hope to continue that legacy somehow. Like, don't so much want to be a saddle maker, but I mean, it's just so cool what he's done. And he was a steer wrestler. He's an announcer at rodeos, and it's interesting because both of us were raised in cities, but we both have like this huge rodeo background. So,
heck yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into your product. That I mean, in my opinion, is one of the biggest safety changes to come in rodeo, and my God, I've probably since the
such an
vest
innovation.
and the helmet.
I mean, truly.
Yeah, but the Lica bell. So go into that. Tell us what it is, and then how you thought that up.
Yeah. So the Lica bell is a rubber cowbell, and it basically is replacing the metal bell that's been used in bull riding for 100 years, 50 years, however long bull riding's been going on, and a bell, what it's used for is its weight, for the rider to be able to put the rope on the animal. It makes it easier to, hook the rope. And then it's supposed to take the rope off after the ride. If you ask people why there's a bell, like most people can't tell you. It's just been there. Just like the old joke in bull riding, I don't know if you'll get this or not, but people say, do you put your bells to the front or back of your rope? They don't know. Like no one knows. Like, oh, I always put them to the front because that's what everyone did, but like it doesn't make a difference. It's on the front, because like on the loop you have a front or back side.
Right.
But anyways, and so I mean, talking to some stock contractors and kind of even older guys, like I think back in the day the bell did serve a purpose. I think back before the breeding program got to where it's at and the animals are now athletes, I think maybe the bell did generate some of the animal to continue to buck or do whatever. But we all also know that as soon as a bell gets stepped on, which will happen no matter what, they get flattened and they really don't make noise, and they actually become very sharp. And so last year, Hooked Up Enterprises, Brent Schaaf, he had called me because he knew I worked at Beastmaster, and he was like, hey, man, he's like, did you hear about Dayton Spiel's accident? And Dayton Spiel was a professional bullfighter in the PRCA and in the Badlands circuit specifically. And he was like, Dayton had an accident and actually got hit in the eye by a bell. And he said it was very traumatic, and I don't know if he lost his eye, but he's blind in the eye, he can't see, and so they asked me, is there anything we could do? And I was like, what I've learned about business is when, find people's problems and fix it, and that's a great way to start a business or do something. And I was like, man, that's a great, idea. You don't think about, I rode bulls for 20 years. You don't think about how bells are dangerous, but they are. We've seen them hit people. We've seen them fly in the stands. It's just something you don't think about. And so he had kind of said, we were thinking like maybe like a hacky sack type material or something. And I was like, oh, okay. But I was thinking, man, if a bull steps on that, it's going to tear it, rip it, whatever. So I was like, all right. So then, I mean, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I have resources and people. And so I used my resources and people that I knew. And I was like, hey, what do you think about, I talked to a gentleman I knew, like, hey, I'm thinking about this. This is what I want to do. And so, we just went down this process. The first one we ever made was actually 3D printed, and it was really hard. And I was like, this ain't going to work. Like, this is going to hurt, And then we started going, and we started like, well, let's try some rubbers and different things and these like liquid rubbers and all this stuff. And I remember seeing the first one ever, and I was like, this is so cool. And it was so ugly. Like, the funniest thing is, like, I looked at it, I was like, at the time, because it never existed. Never existed. And then you see this product, and you're like, wow. So cool. Yeah. And then now where we're at in the new version and all things, it's like I went from a really old, crappy, rusty beater upper to now it's like a Ferrari. It's like totally different. But, yeah, so the idea was to create a safer alternative that could still serve the same purpose in bull riding. And honestly, bullfighters have always been near and dear to my heart as my friends. They kept me safe. And as a rider, you really don't give them anything other than dang sure thank them. They saved our butt a bunch of times. But, like, there's really no way to ever repay them. And I get they're paid by the committees or the stock contractor. And some good money, some it's minimal. But, like, my thought process was, man, how cool is this to give back to the guys that put their lives on the line for me all the time. And so, honestly, I'm so blessed and honored just to have been given the opportunity by the grace of God, by them calling me. And it's just so crazy how it's like, I think the best thing in life with business is if it doesn't just blow up overnight. Like, it's like the little steps that get you there, because if it did, I don't think I would even be where I'm at today with it. Like, I'm kind of glad it's taking a little bit of time, but it's fun to see the tractions and the momentum start to come, because I'll tell you what's the hardest thing to do in rodeo, and you guys know this, is change people's mindsets. Yes. We're very old school. This is the way we've always did it, and it's the old timers. Well, heck, it don't make noise. What's the that ain't a real bell or whatever. And it was funny. Josh Frost won the round the other day on my good buddy Chance Shots bull, and his dad Dallas. He jokes he doesn't really like the bell. He was kind of giving me heck, and he said, I just don't like it. Don't make noise. And I was like, Dallas, Josh was using my bell. Did you hear it at all when you were cheering? Were you were cheering? You were so excited your bull was doing good. Did you care to hear the bell? He's like, no, I didn't. I was like, exactly.
Just carry a bell with you and ring it while you're counting the $33,000 he won the other night.
Yeah, if you're that excited about the noise, and shake the bell, you know what I mean? So it was funny and just in good humor, But that thing is like, it doesn't need to make noise.
No.
It keeps people safe. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure this rubber is actually a lot softer than people think. You guys came and felt them.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, when they heard about I just assumed it was going to be really hard. And my goal was to not make it hard.
Right.
Now, we're still learning how strong, because the softer rubber is, the more susceptible it is to possibly tear or rip or whatever. The hard, you can make rubber as hard as a tire, and that won't rip and break ever, right? But then you're defeating the purpose. Now, and don't get me wrong, you may not cut someone, but I don't think a hard chunk of rubber would be fun to get hit by either.
No,
So
I agree.
So that was the goal with it, and I think I told you guys the other day, I've got 11 of the top 15.
Yes.
They purchased them. It wasn't like I just gave them to them or used them at the NFR, which shows me that they see the value in it, and they also are very grateful for their bullfighters. And it's fun. Last night, Chuck Swisher pulled me aside, and he was like, hey, man, I really appreciate what you're doing for the industry, for the bullfighters. And so if I can make those impacts, that's great.
Yeah, and you talk about baby steps and, mindsets being hard to change, but we're seeing some of the top guys, the top organizations like PBR really adapting this new option when it comes to the bell, and it's a much safer option. So talk about that a little bit. Like, do you feel like because so many of the top people have adopted it that it's hopefully going to change the industry moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me. I didn't hear this straight from his mouth, so I'm sorry if I quote it and it's not true, but I guess Cody Lambert said, so they brought the bell to Sage Kimsey's been a huge advocate for me. And Colton Hevelo was actually the first bull rider to ever use a Lica bell and to have it at the PBR. So he's been the OG. He's my buddy. And so shout out to Colton Hevelo. But Sage has been a big advocate. And Sage was showing it to everyone. They were talking or whatever. And I guess, actually this story came from Colton, but he said that Cody Lambert said, you tell that SOB who made this that he's really smart. He's like, because it took a vest. It took a guy dying for us to put a vest on a bull rider, and it took a guy losing his eye or going blind for us to look at bells in a different way.
Yep.
And so that made me realize, okay, if the older generations of legends, they get it, then I feel like it's only going to take a matter of time. It was really cool. The Ridge Riders, so Colby Yates is a buddy of mine or a friend of mine, and he ordered some for all the Ridge Riders. I just love and so then I started really getting into customs too, putting designs and logos on them, and so I love seeing a black bell with the Ridge Rider logo. I'm always like, let's go, So so that was really cool, and yeah, I mean, obviously in a perfect world we get it mandatory, but at the same time, for me, it's not about trying to just get everyone to convert just because it'll be good for business. It's because this serves a purpose to make the industry better, and like you guys trying to elevate the game of rodeo and more awareness and make things better. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to do. That's the genuine reason behind us. It's not about entrepreneurship, business. It's about I love bull riding. It's been my life for 20 years, as 20-year career, and if I have an opportunity to make the industry better that I love near and dear to my heart and make an impact and a change in that, man, that's it. What's the whole point of life? It's to make the place you came better than when you were there. You know what I mean? And so that's my goal with this, is to make the industry better. And by God, if it's a rubber bell, well, good deal. Let's go.
And there's thousands and thousands of bull riders that'll come and ride and be done and move on and never leave anything for the sport behind. But the cool part is that you rode, and now you're going to take something that you learned in your experience with that and leave your touch and your mark on the sport forever, because it's going to be around a long time. And I mean,
sure hope.
That to me, that's the thing that, if it was me doing it, that would mean the most to me, is that I was able to go and make a difference and make a change that goes beyond just what I did riding in the arena.
Yeah, I struggled a lot. I'll be honest. I struggled a lot with retirement. It was hard. It becomes your identity. And I used to always say bull riding was not my identity. It's not who I am. It's what I do. Oh, no. It was who I am. Yeah. It was me. Actually, sought counseling. I've been an active through the Western Sports Foundation. Things I've told people, I sought counseling for it because it's such a lifestyle. The adrenaline, the traveling, the money, all of the things. But yeah, to now look at it from a perspective like you can actually make a difference in something that you like, because you think that you're going to be remembered for what gold buckle you had on your hip, or on your waist, and of course that was the goal. Like, don't get me wrong, that was the goal. Everyone wants to be a world champion, you know, and be at the NFR and those things. And so, but to be able to make a difference in an industry that you love and make an impact and change it as little as something as a bell, that's amazing. And the funny story about that, so my last name is Lica, and I was laughing because I was telling my dad, I was like, you know, it's kind of like a bell. And he was like, huh?
You said this the other day. Oh, my gosh, that's so funny.
And I was like, holy crap. I was like, we should call it a Lica bell, huh? And he's like, that's actually pretty good. And so it's spelled Lica, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's a Lica because they think that. But but it's Lica bell, and so it's really funny. And I hope that someday it's a household name. And I tell some of the guys that have the OG models, the first ones there, just said, I wouldn't throw them away. I'm not saying they're going to be worth a lot someday, but you will have the ugly originals, you know, because it keeps evolving, you know. Yeah. And I'm learning, like, we're 6 months in, you know, so things are changing. And that's what I always tried to bring to the table at Beastmaster. Mm-hmm. How can we learn? How can we adapt? How can we change? How can we listen to the industry and make it good for the industry, you know? And it's so easy to, and I'm saying this in a non-conceited way, but it's so easy to be better than not better, but it's so easy to raise the level in industries because most people don't even do the 1%.
Yes.
The call the customer back, the make it right, the take 2 minutes and just remember their name. You know what I mean? Like, and those are the things you can do in business to really set yourself apart.
Oh yeah. You make the customer feel heard, then they're going to stick around with you, because even if your product misses the mark at one point, they're going to come and give you a chance to make it right, and then you didn't lose a customer.
Yes, sir.
And that's awesome, especially with what you're doing, because it's more than just, like you said, it's more than just making a sale. You're trying to make a difference.
Yes, sir.
You know, so having those people buy into that and start telling other people about it, like, that'll do more than buying ads will, you know, especially in this industry, because it's such a big relationship industry and word of mouth industry that if I buy one for my kid, or I'm at a junior rodeo and the bullfighter gets hit in the face, doesn't hurt him at all, and people are like, oh my God, I got a Lica bell so it didn't bust his eye out. Yeah. Like, where do you get those?
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's not only this. Nick made a really good point the other day when we were just chatting that, you know, baseball has nets. Rodeo does not have nets. Like, those bull ropes and bells can go anywhere. We've seen them go into the crowds before.
And I've never even thought about that.
I know. I hadn't even thought about it either till you mentioned it. But it's just such a huge thing for safety and innovation in the industry that, you know, it's just really cool to see.
Well, and the other night at the NFR, I think it was round 4, a metal bell out of the 15, the 4 that had one of the 4 that had a metal bell went into the stands. Yeah. It didn't hurt nobody, but it flew up in the stands, you know.
But it could have.
Could have, yeah. And so I think that's why some of the associations, like the PBR, have had conversations with them and PRCA, and why they're kind of wanting to, you know, try to implement something with this, just because of, from a spectator standpoint, the liability, the risk, things like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's fun. It's unique. It's different. And you know, it's funny. I've been out here, and so many people are like, oh, I just see it. You're crushing it. And sometimes it's so funny because when you're at home, because I'm making these in my garage.
Right. I was gonna say I wanted you to talk about the process. Of it,
I'm the manufacturer. It is me, and it's not sexy. Let me tell you, it's not. It is. And it's cold. So like, I mean, it's cold in Michigan or
Lindy, buy him a heater. Come on.
Yeah. Well, so like, you know, I mean, so okay, I told you guys I'd get a little real with you. So you know, I worked for Beastmaster for 10 years, and I will always highly respect that man. He's been nothing but good to me, and we have a great relationship. But I had got put in a predicament, or with the situation when I invented the product. I told him, I said, hey man, I said I really would like some, you know, kickback off of this, or what can we do? Like, this is good. And the deal he offered me, it just didn't really in my mind resonate. It didn't make sense, and I was like, man, I just feel like there was a ceiling on my head. Like, I just felt like I couldn't go any further than where I was at. And he, you know, he was nice, and I think it was the best thing he could have done for me. He said, Nick, you know, I know you have an entrepreneur spirit. I know that you want to go on and do things. He's like, and I believe in you. He's like, so I'll make you a deal. You know, you can have the product since you invented it. You know, just pay me what we have back in our time. Because when I built it, it wasn't with the intentions of not working at Beastmaster anymore. Because I could have died. I loved that brand. And I still love it. You know, and I said, he said, but if you take the product, you can't work here anymore. And I was like, try sitting there. You got a kid. She's no, she's not even a year at this point. She's 6 months old.
Oh my gosh!
And your wife, thankfully, your wife has a decent, steady job, and I'm like, oh. And I'd been wanting to go do my own thing, but it was like you didn't know, you know.
You
and,
needed that kick in the butt to
yeah,
do it.
you had to get pushed out of the nest, you know.
exactly.
Like, you gotta go
1000%.
fly. And so, like, when I look at that context of that situation, I'm so grateful. So it's not like mad, oh, you didn't want to, but I will say it's not easy. Once you're out there in it, you're in it. You know, all the business people I've ever listened to said never quit your day job until your side hustle becomes as big as your, you know, and so I highly recommend that what I just said. Don't quit your day job because it's a little harder than you think. So
Why do you think we still have jobs next?
Exactly. So you get it, and so so then I'm out here, and so I took me a while, but I made the decision that I was gonna go. I was like, man, this might just be changing the bull riding industry for good, and I'm not gonna let. I didn't want to let that opportunity pass me.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like God was like, this is it.
Yes.
I'm telling you right now, this is it. And I was like, all right. And he did, but then it's so funny. You know how like life works? So you take the risk, very next week, no lie, horse bone infection. Like
a nightmare.
I mean, thing after thing, and I'm like, what is going on right now?
I messed up.
I know. I wanted to go crawling back from my job. I was but I was like, no. I was like, there's no way. We can't go back now. And so, but it's so funny what I was saying about being here is everyone's like, you're crushing it, you're killing it. And I'm thinking, guys, I'm in this garage pouring bells, you know, and it's fun, but so my garage isn't heated and it's become winter, so it's like it's been difficult because the material actually needs to be
part of it,
so the material has to be in like a normal temperature regulated, you know, atmosphere, and so you learn, like in the hot summer I learned it cures a lot faster, and that was a problem because I didn't realize that, so I'd be doing something that would cure fast, and then in the winter it cures really slow, so you're like trying to do all these things and getting ready for NFR, you know, the weather was fluctuating between, you know, 20s to 50s, and I'm trying to get bells out here, and it was just a pain in my butt, you know, like the weather wasn't cooperating, but you know, that's the beauty, because when I started at Beastmaster, it was on a pile on the ground in a huge warehouse. When I left Beastmaster, we occupied every single part of that huge warehouse, and it was, and there was, I mean, I just remember, and I saw. So I had a pretty decent Black Friday. I didn't know how it would go selling my stuff, and I was a little bummed because like at Beastmaster we do hundreds of orders, you know, and now I'm doing like, you know, a few orders, but I saw a memory come up on Facebook of me posting on a Black Friday when I first started working there. There was like 20 boxes or 10 boxes, and I was like, okay, I remember.
Yeah, perspective.
You forget, because in 10 years of working for a company from the ground level, I've done everything. I cleaned the toilets, I shipped the boxes, I did the marketing, I built the product. So a lot of people don't know at Beastmaster, I was sewing the shaps. I was making that was me. You know, and then as we grew, we started, you know, having more team members. We would subcontract out some things, but like I did, and that was the beauty of working there, was like, it wasn't just, you were at the top and doing whatever. Like, no, I did it all. Yeah. And so, like, it's like I was talking to a buddy last night, Tyler Keyjack, about, it's like sometimes you have to go backwards to get forward. Yes. And it sucks because you work hard. I'm 33. You work hard to get to that point where you're comfortable in life. And I've had to go backwards big time now. And so that it's been humbling. But it's also, I feel like there's going to be a day, hopefully in a couple years from now, where we'll sit back and laugh like, man, remember when you were in the cold garage making bells for the NFR, you know, and maybe things. And I do know the bell is not the end all be all. Right. The goal, so the company is actually called Lica brand. My wife came up with that. The Lica bell is a product, but my goal is to hopefully continue on with more products. And honestly, I don't know, my dream job is to be a GM for one of the PBR teams, because I just love PBR teams. I think it's the coolest concept.
We do too, and specifically this year, we finally went to a couple teams events, and I love it. I love it. It's so good. It's so back and forth. There's more than just like, oh, he rode or he didn't rode. You're cheering for a whole team now.
Yes.
It's just the camaraderie. The guys, you can feel the atmosphere is different. I am such an advocate for the PBR teams too.
If teams exist, like I have to want to retire because teams are so cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just hard, you know. But the teams is you get to be a better bull rider. Like they want to help you be better. Like, you know, you've heard this, but when you're rodeoing people don't really want to tell you the secrets because everyone's trying to survive and live. You know, don't get me wrong, guys are helpful, but the team, you actually have a structure, you have a foundation to keep you, you know what I mean, keep you moving. And what a blessing for young bull riders, huh?
Yes.
Well, that's why I think guys like Cooper Davis and them are staying around because it's like, this is, and it can go, it's going to go so much further. I mean, I just heard the other day that, you know, the first year teams was $3 million for a team, $3 million. Then it was like 10, and now it's like $15 million for a team. And I remember last year, I don't have a lot of money, trust me. But I remember last year when they said they needed 2 more people to buy a team, I was like, who do I know? Who can I get into?
You are of the same mindset we are. When we hear opportunities, we're like, okay, Rolodex, who can we partner with on this to make this a thing?
Is there any rich people that might take my call?
Yes, might give me the time to pitch this.
Because we're so passionate about it.
Where's the investors? Can I get an investor around here?
Angel investor over here, please.
Yes.
I'll put all the sweat equity in. I just need your checkbook, and then you can get the attention, and the name can be yours. I don't care.
Because, like, how cool would that be to have a team?
Incredible.
And so the funny thing is, of course, you originally as a bull rider go, I want to be a coach. But the thing about the coaches, and I think PBR will change, and just hear me for a second. So right now they want faces because it's PBR and we're trying to.
It's got to be successful.
But at the end of the day, from what I see in sports, some of the best coaches are not the faces. They're the guys that weren't as good or they never made it to the big show or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that. I will say this. Articulating bull riding is very hard to do. And a lot of people cannot teach it.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that I can, but I can articulate it okay. But I think it takes a unique person. But I do think the reason why faces are important as well right now is because you have to get these younger bull riders to buy in. And they want to listen to a Justin McBride. He does really articulate well. So that's not a good example of someone. You know, he's really
somebody
good
they've seen on TV their whole life is who they want to be told what to do with.
Yes, sir. And I'm not saying that the famous people aren't good and don't have good information. They surely do. But I think that there will be a day 10 years down the road where a no-name guy like a Nick Lica bull rider is a coach. But my thought process was, don't even be the coach, be a GM, because then you get to kind of be the guy. It's like, we were talking yesterday, I love pro fantasy rodeo, right? So, like, I just want to be the guy moving all the things around. Like, yep, we're going to do this contract, do this. You know, I pursued a little bit. When teams came out the second year, I got my agent card, which was, I feel like a joke. But I got my card to be an agent, and I started kind of talking to bull riders and trying to help them out. And the sad thing is, and this sounds a little bad, but there was just no money in it right now. So, like, you can get these guys contracts, and you're going to get 10% of nothing. You know what I mean? And it's like, but for me, it was like the couple guys I did have as my clients, they were people I really cared about. So I didn't care. But I hope there will be a day. But it's like, the problem is football is just so big. So there's millions of new guys coming in, and they can get good contracts. Bull riding, I just wonder, when does the pool of talent disappear, or when does because you're only gonna have so many people every year. So that's the interesting thing. We got really off here. Sorry.
This is great because I think it's important to talk about it for the industry, because such a passion of ours with the Western lifestyle and rodeo industry is you've got to grow or die, and it's true in business in any industry. So I'm excited to see things like, I hope that Teton Ridge buying the Cowboy channel and bringing awareness to more mainstream people, that causes rodeo to grow and makes kids say, that's cool, I want to do that, and have the resources and the abilities to go and learn and get on bulls and do these things and do it in a safer way, so that, you know, because it is such a risky thing. It's such a hard thing that, you know, many do not retire without some kind of injury or some kind of something. So I just think it's important to talk about.
Not everybody retires by choice.
That was a blessing. But the other thing, you know, when you get to that, you know, it's such a short window of life.
It is.
So imagine I retired a year. I got on a bull for fun this year, but like literally last pro rodeo was 2022 or whatever, right? And you're 32 and you're like, I got my whole life ahead of me. What do I do now? And I actually had some stuff. Like, I had a job with a big company that was involved in rodeo. And imagine all the guys, you know, the funny, everyone talks about the Jim Sharp story that, you know, he retires world champion, all things, and he's pouring concrete. And then they call him and the PBR sells, and he's like, oh, I'm not going to pour concrete. But, you know, that's so many people in this sport. These famous people that were the stars. And I love rodeo. But rodeo is just as quick as they were happy to have you here. Don't let the door hit you on the butt on the way out. If you're not relevant anymore, it's kind of like, but I get it. That's probably all sports. But when you've been invested for 20-something years of your life and you've given it your heart and your soul, and you know, unless you've actually traveled and understood it, like that's why Cowboys get hooked to the sport.
Yeah.
It's why people fall in love with it, because it's just there's just this beauty to the sport and rodeo and the traveling and all the things that encompass rodeo and so in Western sports. And so like when you don't have that anymore, it's and then you don't know what do you do. And the truth is, and this is why I love Western Sports Foundation and things like that, is no one's really ever preparing these young athletes for what happens after.
Yeah.
Just we're here, kick butt, do good, make as much money as you can. You're probably gonna blow a lot of it while you're here, and then guess what? Good luck. Don't let the door hit you. See ya.
And the Western Sports Foundation is a big piece of the success of all this for long term, for after career stuff. And to me, the biggest difference in, like we were talking about professional football versus rodeo, is the audience. The audience is what drives the money. And you get the audience by relating to people. Like, kids grow up playing football all over the country. So they watch it on TV and they want to be those guys. So there's money in it. We're the same way where I come from. We watch rodeo. We want to be those guys. But that's not everywhere. It's not as much of a household sport as football is. And the athletes that compete in rodeo, especially in today's time, spend as much time preparing their bodies and focusing on their sport and learning how to do it and critiquing themselves and getting better as those guys in the NFL do. It's just the audience allows them a much better career and a much longer lifespan on what they have to take from the sport than rodeo does. So one of the things that we're really passionate about, as she mentioned earlier, like I know Teton Ridge is one of those kind of
controversial.
I think that's the word I'm looking for. Controversial things, but what Teton is doing, whether you like the way they're doing it or not, is trying to take this sport, make it mainstream, so that more people care about it and spend their money on it, and then it allows for the people that are actually in the sport to have something to take away from it at the end of the day. So we're huge fans of that. We're huge fans of the teams because that's something else that makes them relate. And then I have an exercise science and coaching background from college, so I understand the team's aspect. I understand the mentality behind, I care about you now because I'm invested in you. So I'm going to share knowledge and I'm going to help you and I'm going to hold you accountable to work out today. Whereas if we're just going down the road together, if you don't win, okay, I do. You know, so your paycheck doesn't affect me, but when we're on the same team, we all got to win together or lose together. So I think that it's going to take the sport farther and make it bigger. I just hope that the fans and the people that are sort of detractors of it get behind it and push it.
Yeah, and going back to PBR teams, I mean, let's be honest, it's so funny in the world, even out here. If you're not a rodeo fan, but you're out here for NFR and you want to see it, I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of people that are very famous that could walk right past you and you wouldn't know who they were.
Yes.
Because truthfully, most people are not fans of the contestant.
Right.
And PBR teams is cool because now it's easy to get behind a team.
Yes.
Well, I'm from Nashville. Go Nashville, you know. And that concept there, I think, is what a game changer. And that's how you start getting more eyes on it, more fans, more people. They want to be excited. You know what I mean? And the PBR is doing really well at tapping into that. And I do want to, to your guys' horn, like you guys bringing awareness to rodeo, to, the fun things you show. Like I was telling you, I was joking, I know how to get the water here in Vegas because of your tip. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so that's what we need. We need more people like you guys, more people in the industry bringing awareness to the sport and hopefully elevating the platform so there will be more money involved so people could go on and do more things after rodeo.
Yeah, and social media is so big in that, and that's what we understand.
Yes.
I'm not to the extent you were. I junior rodeoed, but like I had as big a passion as anyone did and couldn't continue on with it. But like it's kind of the same for me. Like I'm 37. I'm not going to get back on a bull.
Yeah.
I'm not. And if I did, it wouldn't be doing any good because we'll just be in the hospital the next day.
Yeah, I know.
This is so crazy because I'm crazy. But so last night I saw Casey's apparently going for the American. Did you see that? I was like, it's like 3 months away.
No, immediately no.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I sat there and I was like, come on, Nick. Like, you were never once as good. You were never as good as Casey Field, let alone never. So, he can logistically make that. Like, you know what? I'm good enough. I've won at that level. I can do it. But in my mind, I'm like, I could do it. Yes. That's a great idea. We can win $1 million.
Like, I just got to draw the right bull and have the right day.
There's
and
so many
right
things that have to go right, but I know. So I've entered the American several times, and I've paid the $1,000 entry fee and came close one time, but it's like that's how I am. My mind is always like, oh yeah, send it. Let's go.
Jordan are wired the same.
Yeah.
The same. And he's going to come and tell me like he wants me to be on board with it and like sell it to me. And I'm like, and it's not he's trying to sell it to me. He's just so excited about the idea of it that it's like comes across as he's like, yeah, we're going to do it. And I'm like, no, we're not. Like, back up.
That's what helps me in sales, though, is my passion about whatever it is I'm talking about comes through with the person I'm talking to. And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, that was funny. I was literally thinking, I was like, I could enter the American. There's nothing holding you back, right? You're only 33. What the heck? No, probably not going to do that. So.
Oh, my gosh. I love it.
Thinking about that big paycheck is also one of the things that probably helps a little bit. You're like, man, if I just win this one, I don't have to win any other ones.
It's so, I don't know. I mean, life's not about making money by any means, but I rode bulls, so you got money a lot faster, easier. And by no means I was never good as the people I'm about to say, but like Josh is doing well out here, my good buddy Josh Frost, and you see how much money he's winning every day, and you see how much like it takes in business to even get a fraction of that.
Yes.
And I'm like, I might just pull the bull rope back out because the money's a lot better.
But to argue against that just a little bit, Josh will win that, and then I hope he doesn't, but let's say this was his last year and he retired after this, that
he still has
a good personality, and that could take him really far. But if you build $33,000 of business this year, next year it could be 40, and next year 60 and 100. For him, if he stops riding today, the paychecks stop coming from the PRCA. He doesn't make any more money from winning.
And he's a horrible example because he is probably one of the smartest, brightest, best business-oriented guys in rodeo. He's such a good guy, such a good buddy, and he's super smart. So he's the worst example to talk this about, but you're 100% correct. It does come to an end. And so going back, tying into the, being able to give back to the industry, change the industry, make a difference in it, that's what will be remembered. The money will go away. The buckles will tarnish. But how you treated people and how you made the industry better will be the differences will be made.
Yeah.
So.
I love that.
So one thing we always kind of try to do with our podcast, because our backgrounds is she came from an equestrian background and I came from a smaller town, and I had horses and I loved rodeo, but it wasn't as accessible to me. There weren't people around me to kind of feed into me on it. So I always want to use this as a platform for people that may be in that same position, from both the business aspect and from the rodeo aspect. If somebody is wanting to get into that and they want to do that, what would be sort of your key points or best advice you could give somebody that is wanting to be involved in all that?
I'll speak to bull riders specifically just because that's like what I really, really know. So bull riding, actually Joe and Josh Frost have an amazing platform and online coaching. A lot of people go to schools, and that's great. But, if you're going to get into bull riding and rodeo, it's really good to try to put yourself around the right people and to get in at the right age-appropriate stock level. So, get on the right stock, because you can ruin your career immediately by getting on the wrong caliber of stock and getting hurt and things like that. So, I mean, that's like the question in rodeo, like, how do you get started? Because I came from Detroit, and how do you get started, right? And literally what I did, this is back when like phone books existed, is I tried to find things, and you call, and you find local little riding stables and things like that. But I would say in this day and age, it's so much easier. Social media, YouTube, things like that. But as a young bull rider, if I'm getting started, the first thing I'm going to probably do is I'm going to pay for Josh and Joe's online bull riding school, because that thing is amazing. The next thing I'm going to do is get on Beastmaster's YouTube page, learn about gear, because there's a lot of videos I have out there and gear videos they've done. And then I would probably, obviously, somewhere around you, hopefully there is a practice pen or someone that puts on schools, and I would just go in, maybe not even worried about so much riding at first, but trying to kind of see and learn some fundamentals and things like that. And that's honestly, this is kind of a little golden nugget out there, but that's what's so beautiful about our sport, is like it hasn't been tapped.
Yes.
This network of how to get into the sport, how to do things that hasn't been tapped. Usually got to know someone the right things, but it is possible. It's a little more work, but also too, like with rodeo, you got to have a love for it. That's the best part about bull riding is you're going to find out real quick if you're going to last in that sport or not. You know what I mean? Because all it takes is one good knock in the head, and you're like, I don't know if I like this, you know. But I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of an answer. I know not specifically for people in other events in rodeo, but usually something local. But at the end, and honestly, your guys' platform, right? The Southeastern, like that network of people that are in this industry and saying, hey, we have this going on, we got this school coming up, we've got this event, come check it out. I would say that's the best way to get started right now in this day and age until more people have created what Joe and Josh have done. There's going to be competitors. I told Josh, like, look, there might be a day I compete with you. Not that I have as much skin in the game as credentials as you, but there is a place for when you go on YouTube and you ask how to do something. You don't always get golf. Golf's a great example. Yeah, we know Tiger Woods exists. We know they are there. But, like, there's some guy you never even heard of who's like, hey, check out this video on how to make your swing better. And guess who watched that? Me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So what I'm saying is there is actually space for – but I think in our world, we all think that if we're not someone famous, we don't have the buckle, who are we? Who can we to tell someone something, you know? But the truth is if you are genuine, you help people solve their problems, and you do it in a way that is engaging, sky's the limit.
Yeah. And it's like you said earlier, some of the best coaches weren't the best performers.
Right.
So it can be different. And you can speak to this as much as anybody, but everybody has different styles too.
Yes.
So I know different styles work better for some folks. And you can probably get more than just one school. You know?
Yeah. If I could do it all over again, I should have went to way more schools.
Yeah.
Like I always went to Gary LaFew's school and things like that, but I would go to anything. I tell boys, hey, go, because if you take one thing,
just
can
even
make
one
you
little detail.
One little thing, because don't try to be like everyone else. Just try to take what works for you and create your own style. You know, and you create your own habit. And my boys at Champion Living Fitness, that's a good way if you don't know where to get started, and fitness and things like that. And that rodeo's changed. Like, listen, you no longer can show up and be the guy who doesn't have some sort of physical fitness and activity going on. So hit them up, or at least get into the gym, learn some stuff. The nice thing about them is they're tiered towards rodeo athletes, and their workouts tiered towards that. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's been a good one.
This has been a really good one. Thank you for sitting down with us, Nick.
Hey, you guys, I'm sorry. I really appreciate it. It means so much to me that you guys, one, our friendship, you guys have been great to me, and two, just allowing me to have opportunity to speak on, the Lica Bell, Lica brand, and honestly, it's just so fun that we're elevating the game of rodeo.
Absolutely. We're excited.
Before we wrap up, where can they find Lica brand and Lica Bell? Yes.
So I do a lot on Instagram, Lica brand _official. I have a website, Lica brand, so LICABRAND.com. So you can also email me on the website. And honestly, I would love to hear from you. Like I'm all about feedback, make things better. I mean, I can't promise I can implement it immediately, but I'll dang sure try. And at the end of the day, just find me on there, and appreciate it. So
awesome. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, bud.
Yep.